Hello my people, welcome to another tutorial. My name is Agnes. In today's tutorial, I'll show you how you can recreate this jacket that I made. I used the granny stitch, it's a 1-row repeat, and I used chunky yarn, so it works up very fast. You can create this in a day or so. So I will be telling you how you can adjust this in different sizes. I have the written pattern available on my Etsy and Yancy shops. I'll leave the links in the description box. It includes sizes extra small to 5x, so in case you want to check out the written pattern, do that. And let's just get straight into the tutorial. So for today's yarn, I'm going to be using this Lina. It's from volido.de. If you're in Europe, you can get this. It's 80% acrylic and 20% wool. It's 100 grams and 90 meters per skein. I will write how many I use, and it is chunky yarn or size 5 yarn. Yeah, you can. The recommended hook size is 7mm hook size, and I'll be using that. So I have black and white. With a 7mm hook, you'll need scissors and of course a tape. Alright, so this cardigan we're going to start with the back panel, and then once we have our length, then we'll work the front panels. We're not cutting off the yarn, so it comes to the front, and then we'll work the other part of the front panel. They're two identical, and then once we are done with that, we work the sleeves on one side, then the sleeve on the other side. Once we are done with that, then we'll work the ribbing, the bottom ribbing, then the front ribbing with the buttonholes, and then lastly the collar. So for the foundation chain, we are going to make a slip knot, and then you're going to chain multiples of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 9. I'm going to chain this until I have shoulder measurements, shoulder to shoulder measurements plus 10, because mine is a bit oversized. So if you want not oversized, then you add less, because I added 10. 15 plus 10, that's 25. You can add 8, you can add 7, depends on how you like your feet. Then you're going to skip 1, 2, 3. So yarn over, skip 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th chain make a double crochet. This chain 3 counts as a stitch, so in this very same stitch make another double crochet. So this becomes 1, 2, 3 stitches. That's a cluster. And then you're going to skip 2 chains, and into the next chain you are going to make another cluster, which comprises of 3 double crochets. And we are just going to keep repeating this. So yarn over, skip 2 into the 3rd, make 3 double crochets in the same stitch, skip 2, 3 double crochets, and you're going to do this until you get to the end of the row. So when you get to the end, you have 3 stitches. Go into the last stitch and make 1 double crochet. So we are always going to start with a cluster, but we are ending the rows with a double crochet. So that's the end of your row 1. And for row 2, you're going to chain 3. 3 counts as a stitch. So you are going to yarn over, and you're going to go into this space and make 2 double crochets. So that's 1 and that's 2. So plus this chain, that makes it 3. And then you're just going to go between these spaces and make clusters. So that's 3 double crochets in these spaces. and you're going to do this until you get to the end. I'm coming to the end. This is my last cluster, and like I said, we end with a double crochet. So on top of this chain stitch, I'll go on there and make a double crochet. So you skip these two, and into the last stitch make a double crochet, and I will change color here. So introduce the other color. I will just turn my work like this, and then insert my hook in those both loops, leave a tail, and chain 1, 2, 3. And then this chain 3 counts as a stitch, so which means in here I'm going to make 2 double crochets in this space. So that's our first cluster, and then I go in between the clusters and just make 3 double crochets in every space between the clusters. So I'll just keep repeating row 2 until I have the length that I like before the ribbing. So I want to do 15 inches before the ribbing because I don't want mine very long, but you can make it long if you like. So just keep repeating row 2. You start with a cluster, you end with a double crochet. You start with a cluster, you end with a double crochet, and I'll see you when you have your inches. So I'm done with my back panel, and I did 15 inches as the length. So you can make this longer if you like, or shorter, depends on what you prefer. So mine is 15 inches, that's before the ribbing. And we are going to work the front panels now on each side, leaving the neckline. So you will have the front panels, same number of stitches or granny stitches, and in the middle for the neckline I'm leaving 6 inches. So you can leave about 5 to 6 inches. That should be all right. So mark that 5 to 6 inches in the middle, and then we will continue with a granny stitch on one side of the panel, and then once we are done with that, we'll then do the other side. So 6 stitches at 6 inches or 5 inches or 5.5 or 6.5 should be all right. So to continue, I put stitch markers where I want to stop. So to continue, we're just going to work the same stitch. So chain 3 and then make 2 more double crochets to complete that cluster, and then skip, go into the next space and make 3 double crochets. So we're working the same pattern, just it's a bit shorter. So I got to the end, and at the end, like we were doing before, you end with a double crochet. That's how you end your row. So I'll make a double crochet. You can make it in the space or just on top there. I just put it on top, but you can also make it in the space. So of course you continue with the next row by chaining 3, turning your work, and then you work 2 more double crochets in that chain space, not chain space, but in that space, to complete that cluster. And you're just going to continue with this pattern until you have the same number of rows on the front panel like you had on the back. So it's completely same stitch, same pattern, only that you are now working on a smaller scale. So once we are done with that, then we'll come and do the front panel. And once I was done, this is how mine looks like. So now I'm going to work the other side the same way. So I will start from where the stitch marker is because we're working in this direction. So start from where your stitch marker is, chain 3, and then make 2 more double crochets to complete that cluster, and skip, go to the next space and make another cluster. That is 3 double crochets in that space between the previous clusters, and just continue that until you get to the end of the row. Make sure you have the same number of stitches on the right side as same as on the left side. So to finish off the row, you end with a double crochet on top of that chain 3 like that, and then you'll continue doing the same thing, chain 3, turn your work and work 2 double crochets in that first space to complete that cluster, because the chain 3 counts as a stitch. And do this until you have the same number of rows like you had with the back panel, and then once you're done, we'll come and do the sleeves. So we're going to be working the sleeves here and there on the other side. I left 18 inches as the circumference, so which means I have 9 inches on each side of the panel. So on the front panel I have 9, and then on the back panel I have 9 inches. This is where we join the 2 panels, where they join. So I got my upper arm circumference plus 8, so it's 10 plus 8, that makes it 18. So measure the biggest part of your upper arm and add 8 inches to that. So for me this is 18, and which means 9 on one side, 9 on the other side, right from the middle where we join the panels here. So once you have that, then make sure you put stitch markers, and then we will work this circumference. So when we fold, this is how our sleeve will be. So the circumference is 18, but the sleeve length, the armhole is 9 inches. So we are going to start from where our stitch marker is here, and we are going to be working the same stitch, which is the granny stitch. So you're going to chain 3, and chain 3 counts as a stitch. Then you're going to go into that very same stitch and make 2 more double crochets. That's 1, and that's 2. And then you're going to skip the next stitch and go into the next row. I'm working in these spaces. So into that chain space, make 3 double crochets to make a cluster, and then you're going to skip the next row or stitch, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling them rows because they were rows, and go into the next space and make a cluster. So you're just going to be working in those spaces, making 3 double crochets in every space. So you will work that all across until you get to the other stitch marker, and I'll meet you right there. So we are finishing our row 1, and this is my last cluster. So row 1 of the sleeve, and like we said, we always end with a double crochet. So I'll just go right there on the next stitch and make a double crochet. So that's the end of row 1, and now we're going to chain 3 to start on row 2. So chain 3, turn your work, and the chain 3 counts as a stitch. So you're just going to go into this space between the double crochet and the first cluster and make 2 more double crochets to complete that cluster, and then you go between all the clusters in that space and make 3 double crochets in each space between the clusters until you get to the end. So I got to the end of row 2, this is my last cluster, and once you're done with your last cluster, then you make a double crochet on top of the chain 3. So you skip 2 stitches on top of that chain 3, make a double crochet. For row 3, you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and you're going to basically do the same until you have 5 rows. So we're going to be making decreases in the 6th and 7th row. So make 5 rows of no decrease, and then we'll come make a decrease in the 6th and 7th row. All right. So I'm done with my 5 rows, and it's time to make a decrease, and we are only decreasing at the beginning of the row. So what you'll do is you will start with a chain 3. So chain 3, then turn your work. And normally we would put our stitches in this very fast space between the double crochet and the first cluster, but we're not going to do that. We are going to skip all those 4 stitches and go straight into the space between the 2 clusters and make 3 double crochets. So that's our decrease, and you're going to now just continue making clusters in between those previous clusters until you get to the end, and then I'll meet you there so that we can make the next decrease on the next row. So end this 6th row with a double crochet as per usual, and now I want to change color before I make the next decrease, which is on the 7th row. So I'll turn my work, reattach my yarn, and chain 3 in that very first stitch. Chain 3 counts as a stitch, so I'll just go, instead of going into this, we are making a decrease, so I'll skip the next 3 stitches, and then in that space between the 2 clusters I'll make 3 double crochets. So continue to do that, making 3 double crochets in every space between the clusters until you get to the end, and that's the only decrease we do. So I'm coming to the end of the 7th row. So on top of that chain 3, I am going to make a double crochet to complete the row. So our rows of decrease are done. So the next row, the next 5 rows, we do not decrease. So we only decrease the 6th and 7th row, then we make 5 rows of no decrease, then decrease 6th and 7th row. All right, so next is my 8th row, which means it's a row of no decrease. So chain 3, turn my work, and then I'm working in that very first space, which is between the double crochet and the cluster. So put more 2 double crochets because the chain 3 counts as a stitch. So now I'm going to work 3 double crochets in every space until I get to the end of the row. So once you get to the end of the row, you make your double crochet on top of that chain 3, and then turn your work and continue working until you have 5 rows of no decrease, and then make another decrease. Okay, so I made 15 inches of my sleeve, that's how long it is, and I made only about 2 times decrease. So now we're going to do the cuff. So for the cuff, you're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I chained 7. You can make it longer if you like. So we are going to be working slip stitches. So you're going to skip the first chain from the hook and then work 6 slip stitches. So skip the first chain, then work 6 slip stitches in the next 6 chains. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and keep your stitches loose. If when you're working slip stitches, don't make your stitches tight, then it becomes hard to get into them. So go into the very next stitch and make a slip stitch to attach that to the sleeve. So Then you're going to turn your work. So you only slip stitched once, so you're going to skip that slip stitch that you did to attach. So skip this slip stitch, and then you work into the back loop of the next 6 slip stitches. So you're slip stitching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So your stitches will be the same number on every row. So chain 1, turn your work, and now you're going to, of course, skip the chain and go into the next 6 slip stitches in the back loop only and work 6 slip stitches. The last one is a bit hard to find, but it's there. So that's my 6th. And now you are going to slip stitch into the next 2 slip stitches. Not just 1, but 2. So we are going to be alternating between 1 and 2. So the first one was 1 and now it's 2. So you turn your work and now you're going to skip those 2. 1, 2. Skip them. And then into the third one, you're going to make a slip stitch in the back loop only. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 1, turn your work, and then you work now 6 slip stitches as you go up. And once you get up, it's time to only slip stitch once to join. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, only in the back loop. And now to join, we are going to slip stitch into only 1. So this is where you were working. Now the next stitch, slip stitch once to join, and you're just going to keep repeating this pattern. So skip 1 and then slip stitch 6 of them all the way down. So it will be, you go up, you attach, you slip stitch once to attach, then you go down, you go up, you slip stitch twice to attach, you go up, down, you go up once, like that. So keep alternating, and you are only working in the back loop. So you're going to do that until you get to the end of your cuff, and then we will do the other cuff too. I'll come after that back to you so that I can show you the next step. So now here it's 2 because we did 1 the previous time. So it's just 2 slip stitches to attach, and then skip those and work all the way down. So repeat this until you're at the end. So I'm done, and in overall my sleeve is about 19 inches long. So once you're done, this is where I was finished, just weaving your ends because we want to join, and it's better when you've weaved in your ends. You do it the way you normally do it. I just really don't have the neatest way to do it. I know that there must be better ways to do this. I just do it the easiest way and fastest. So yeah, once you've weaved on in all your ends, you're going to fold this on the wrong side, and for me this is going to be my wrong side and this is going to be my right side. So wrong side like this, and we are going to sew here all the way down. I'm using my needle, my yarn needle, and I'm just going to get into here. I will tie this just to secure it, and then on the other side, get in there, and I'm just going to sew along this place. you can slip stitch these two if you like, but I think it's better to sew because we are working with different colors. So I will just sew all the sleeve like this, go all the way under arm and down to this. So done with the sleeves, and this is what we have. So we are going to do the bottom ribbing, and it's going to be the same as here, the cuffs. So starting here at this corner, and I'm using black, so I'll reattach my yarn, and then I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll chain 9. I will do 9. So this depends on how big you want your thingy to be long. So which means if I chain 9, then I'll have 8 slip stitches. So skip the first slip stitch into your next stitch. I mean skip the first chain, and in your next chain make a slip stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm going to go into my next stitch here and make a slip stitch. So then I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to skip this slip stitch that I made here and go into the back loop of this first stitch here and make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Chain 1, turn the work again, and wait a second, and then slip stitch all the way to the top. So skip, of course, this chain 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's going to be a little bit hard to see, but it's there. 8. And now since we did only 1 slip stitch here, now we're going to do 2. So 1 and 2, and then we turn our work, and we are going to skip the 2 slip stitches. So skip 1, 2, and we'll start working in this back loop here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So on every row you will have 8 stitches. So if you don't have the same number on every row, you're doing it wrong. So skip the chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then now since we did 2 here, so I'm only going to do 1 slip stitch in the next stitch, and then turn my work, skip that slip stitch, and work 8 slip stitches in the back loop all the way down. And you're just going to continue that all across the bottom of the cardigan, and I'll meet you once you are done with that. So I'm done, and here at the back, of course, we have the chains, and then we have the stitch where we have the granny stitch. So you will still work the same thing. The chains still count, and that one granny stitch still counts as the third one. So I'm going to be leaving this much for the collar, and it's about 5 inches from the top. So 5 inches from here to there, and then we're going to do the ribbing on this side. This is the right side with the buttonhole, so we are just going to do up and down. I wanted to do like this, but then it takes too much time, so I decided to do up and down. So I went back down when I finished my row, and I finished it right here. So now I'm just going to work all the way until I get to this stitch marker. So chain 1, and then slip stitch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now here at the end of this row here, I'm going to slip stitch. So we're just going to work even stitches all the way to the top. So I'm putting 2 stitches in every, is it row? This like this row, this row, this row. So alright, so I'm just going to keep slip stitching until I get to my stitch marker. So I slip stitched all across. So from here to here where I am, the number of slip stitches will be twice the number of my rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I should have 22 stitches up here. It can be 23 or 24, but just relatively the same, twice the number. So once you get to the top here, it's the same pattern. You chain 2 and then turn your work, and then work slip stitches. So you skip the chain, of course, and go only in the back loop of every stitch with a slip stitch. And you're going to do this, get to the bottom, chain 1, turn around, and just do the same thing over and over again. And I'll come tell you how many rows I do before we put the buttonholes. All right, so that's what I have, and I did 6 rows. So now I'm going to put buttonholes as I got up. I already chained 1, so I'm tying my work, skip the chain, and do 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm going to put 1 here, so I'll chain 2, then skip 1, 2, and into the next I'll make a slip stitch. So that becomes a buttonhole. And then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let me see. So if I skip 2 here, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I have 2 at the top. That works. So this is the 10th. Chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, chain 2, skip 2, and in this last one I'll work in both loops just to make it more secure. 10. So I have 3 button holes. All right, so now chain 1, turn work. So I have 1, skip the chain of course, and then 1 here. I'm going to work the back loop 1, and then I'll work slip stitches in these chains. So I might just as well go on and work in their back loops like this. So then just continue going down, and once you get to the next, then do the same. And once you get down at the bottom, chain 2, and you can either add another row or just leave it at this. I got to the bottom, and that will be it for now. I'm not adding any more rows, so I'll cut that. And then now for this other side, we are going to start here. We'll start here, do the same like we're doing 2 slip stitches in every row, and then all the way down, and then back up like that in the back loop. Only same number of rows. I did a total of 8. I also do 8 on this side. No buttonholes, because this is where we're putting the buttons, so you don't have to leave any holes. And yeah, once we are done with that, I'll come so that we can do the collar. So here we are, and I did 8 rows on this side. So now I didn't cut off my yarn. I'm going to start here, and we're going to work the same granny stitch all around. We'll be working like this for the collar. So I'm going to chain 3 because we are going to be working the granny stitch, and in this very same stitch I'm going to work a cluster, so which means that chain 3 counts as a stitch, and I go in and work 2 double crochets, and then skip 2. So I'm skipping like the whole thing is skip 2, and then into this next one, skip 2 to this next one. I will work three double crochets in that very same stitch, and then I'm just going to skip all this corner here, and I'm going to work a granny stitch here in this space, and then I'm just going to be working in every space here, skip, granny square, granny cluster in the space. And once I get here, so this is around the back So you can see now these are defined, so I'll just continue to work in the spaces, and I will continue along the back and do the same that I did here on this other side, and I will meet you on this side. I came all the way and I'm back here, and my last stitch is going to be a double crochet. So we start with a cluster and end with a double crochet, just like we were doing for these other parts. So then you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and you're just going to make a cluster. Chain 3 counts as a stitch in that case. So I put 2 more double crochets, and then you'll just continue with this pattern for the next rows, and I'll come tell you how many rows I did for mine. So I'm done, and I did 5 rows and then did a single crochet row in the white. So 1 2 3 4 5. I did 5 rows of the granny stitch and then did the white in single crochet as a single crochet row. Then now for the buttons, I added 3 buttons. I realized I made my buttonholes a little bit big for my buttons, but it will work out anyway. So I just sewed the buttons. They have 4 holes, so I just went through the 4 holes like this. And then tied at the back. And that's it, and just cut this out. And yeah, I think we are done, and that's how our jacket cardigan looks like. And I love it. I really love the colors black and white. They say they are not colors, but I love black and white anyway, and I hope you like it too. So if you do recreate this and you love it, please tag me on social media. It's AC Crochets. And if you happen to buy my patterns on Etsy and Yancy, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. For those who share, leave a comment and like, thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.